What's up, y'all? My name is Ian Edwards, and welcome to the Soccer Comic Rant. And I don't think anybody is going to be able to join me today. Everybody's all over the world doing their thing. So Neil is in India, Lee is in England, and Martin has got family in town. And so thank you if you're watching on iTunes. I said watching on iTunes, hilarious. If you're listening on iTunes, thank you. If you're listening on Omni Studio, thank you. And you're listening on Spotify, thank you. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe and comment. And also if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see that I'm wearing an LAFC jersey. And sometimes I go to LAFC games. And through the podcast, LAFC would like to give away 8 tickets, 4 pairs of tickets to LAFC's CONCACAF Champions League match this Tuesday at BMO, downtown Los Angeles, May 2nd, 8 p.m. game. I'm not sure about the time of the game, but we have tickets. So let me try to figure out how to give these tickets to you. If you're in Los Angeles, most likely those are the people who are going to be able to make it. Get at me on Instagram, DM me at Ian Edwards Comic. So DM me at Ian Edwards Comic for these tickets this Tuesday. DM me by 6 p.m. Monday, all right? So that I can set it up so you could get the tickets. So, yeah. So LAFC is giving away 8 tickets, 4 pairs for LAFC's CONCACAF semifinal Champions League match this Tuesday at BMO. That's where they play downtown. All right, so we got that. And we got scores and results to talk about. And let's go to the standings. Let's start at the top of the table. So I'm gonna look off screen to my phone, and I'm looking at the top of the table, and wait, hold up a second. Is that a different team besides Arsenal at the top of the table? Does it say Man City is in number 1 and Arsenal, who have been leading the table all season, has 75 points, 1 point less than our leaders, Man City. And Man City has a game in hand. So today, Man City played Fulham and got into it with Fulham right away, and just like they weren't playing any games. They weren't playing any games. They're like, we beat Arsenal last week 4-0. We have these 2 games in hand, and it's time to start leading the table for the rest of the season till the end of the season. And that's what they did. Fulham has no Mitrovic, and it was just going to be a tough game for, against a team in form. And even though the game was at Fulham, Man City are the champions, and they handled them. And Julian Alvarez, De Bruyne didn't play, but Julian Alvarez earned a penalty, which Haaland pasted in the back side of the net. Just howitzered it to the right of the goalkeeper. Just the goalkeeper dived the right way. He could have dived the right way 10 times and he wouldn't have saved that shot. That shit was pasted. like shot out of a cannon, like no nonsense penalty. And Man City went up one, and you know, Fulham being Fulham, the way they've been all season, they put up a fight, but they could not beat Man City. And Man City, last season's champions, and now this season's leaders, are at the top of the table, and they still have a game in hand, and they're 1 point ahead of Arsenal. And the only chance Arsenal has of beating or catching Man City is Man City's schedule, because I guess that extra game in hand, might give them some tired legs. They're gonna have the 2 extra games against. I think they're playing Real Madrid in Champions League, so that's gonna be coming up soon. So Arsenal, man, I really got to check out Arsenal Fan TV to see how uh, those guys feel about officially being taken over as leaders at the top of the league. That's going to be, because they didn't play yet. They're going to play Tuesday versus Chelsea. But them actually watching Man City beat them last week, but them still being 2 points ahead. But now, every Arsenal fan must have been watching that City game against Fulham. And they had to watch their team lose their lead of the league. So that probably hurt a lot. Now, this week, Ken, there were some cracking games. And there were 2 cracking games specifically, and they were both 4-3 barn burners. So I'm going to go to the second 4-3 barn burner. It was Liverpool versus Tottenham. And man, the game started, and it started Newcastle versus Tottenham style. Like, Liverpool just jumped out on top of Tottenham at Anfield. And they scored, and they scored, and they scored again. And they have some players back, and specifically Luis Diaz. He hasn't played probably all season. He might have played, I think, in the Community Shield and maybe something else, but I can't remember the last time he played. And he came back. So the scorers for Liverpool were Mo Salah, Luis Diaz, and who's the other guy? Luis Diaz and Curtis Jones. All the 3 players with unkept afros scored for Liverpool today. Luis Diaz, Mo Salah, and Curtis Jones. And Curtis Jones has been in form lately. I've been peeping him in that Liverpool midfield. And he's really stepped up and staking his claim to be a starter next season. So keep an eye out for Curtis Jones. Like, his confidence and cockiness is turning him into good form. But Liverpool started the game just harsh. Like, they won 3 in a row, and it's like, let's get this shit started. Let's get 4 in a row. And by halftime, even though Harry Kane had pulled one back, you're like, this game is over. But that's the problem. When you're playing Spurs, and they've been doing this all season, they will lose the first half of a game. Easily. They have no problem losing the first half of a game. And I think their superpower, if any, is losing the first half of a game, because it makes you feel comfortable. You're like, if they couldn't beat us in the first half, there's no way they're going to beat us in the second half. But that's Spurs' superpower. They will rope-a-dope you into believing that you've won. So you go into the locker room, like, what is a coach going to say to you after you just been on the field with Spurs and watch how terrible they played? What is a coach going to say to motivate you or to scare you into believing that they're going to come back out and put up a fight? You're not gonna believe it. Like the second half started so boring because it just felt like the game was over. And they did the same thing to United, and they did the same thing to Bournemouth early in the season. They've done it in so many games. Some they've won, some they've come back and tied, and some they still lost because the deficit was too big after the first half. But Spurs is definitely a second half team. And being a second half team, Son got one goal and became 3-2. And then Richarlison, who is a pain in the ass, I don't really like him, he got the third goal. In extra time, I think he got that shit. And you think game over until goalkeeper Allison went long. Lucas Moura for Spurs tried to back pass it to a defender. And Jota jumped on that shit and put the ball in the back of the net. And Liverpool beat Spurs 4-3. So I'm happy. It knocks Spurs out. Not completely, but almost, or maybe completely, from like being a threat to finishing the top four. There's also a controversy where people are saying Jota shouldn't have been on the field because he kicked Skip in the face. But Skip also had a foul on a Liverpool player, and maybe he shouldn't have been on the field. So if the referee didn't send him off for that, why should he send Jota off for what he did to Skip? And also, if you look at the play when Jota kicked too many kick and skips, when Jota kicked Skip in the face, you will see that even though Jota's foot was up, Skip put his head down. So to me, I don't think it's a red. It's just an accident. He had his eye on the ball. He was going for the ball. Skip puts his head down. It's almost as if Skip headed the bottom of Jota's boot. But Skip eventually got up and play continued, and Jota stayed on the field. And yeah, man, he's a stone cold finisher. If he could stay healthy and Liverpool gets a midfield next season, yeah, they're going to be a dangerous team. The other 4-3 game was between Crystal Palace and West Ham. And boy, did West Ham disappoint me. First of all, they surprised me by going ahead and scoring first. They scored 9 minutes into the game. Souček put the ball in the back of the net. But then Crystal Palace scored 3 unanswered goals, one by Ayew, one by Zaha, one by Schlupp. And you're like, this game is over. But then in that same half, Antonio scored a goal and makes it 3-2. So you're like, what's going on in this game? What a half that was. Like, I didn't almost wake up to see this game, Crystal Palace versus West Ham. But I was like, I've been on the road and I haven't woken up on a Saturday morning at 4 o'clock to check out a 4:30 game in a minute. Because last week I was at Coachella, the weekend before I was in Costa Rica. I was like, I like waking up at 4 to check out the 4:30 game. So I said, let me get up and see this. And that first half justified it. And these two teams went at it, and I wanted West Ham to win. This game was going to be a 2 birds with 1 stone game for me. Because one, I don't like the fact that Crystal Palace fired Patrick Vieira, and I keep talking about this. And they fired him at the easy part of their schedule. So whoever replaced him, in this case it's Roy Hudson, would have an easy run and get credit for having an easy run. The credit that Patrick Vieira could have gotten if they'd have left him as the coach. So I wanted Crystal Palace to lose. And at the same time, that would mean that West Ham would win. And I love the fact, and I've stated this on the podcast before, that West Ham fans hate Moyes. But when he wins, they hate that too, because it means he's more likely to stay. And so I just loved that torment. So I wanted West Ham to win and Crystal Palace to regret firing Patrick Vieira. But even though the game became Eze, who's one of my favorite players, I don't think this was a penalty. This was not a penalty. I still don't know how this was a penalty. The ref, all right, the ref can make a mistake, but then VAR, you have multiple camera angles on this, and I love Eze, but that was not a penalty. It's clearly, why do refs and VAR people like act as if they don't know people throw themselves to the ground? Like, why do you take each piece of contact as literal? And then it's arbitrary too, because sometimes you ignore certain contact. Like there was contact in the box for the Man United game. Like Marcus Rashford was bumped into from behind and flung to the ground and no call. Way harsher than this as a penalty. But this was a penalty. Football is, this has just been football. Even before VAR, football was like this. So then Crystal Palace go up 4-2. West Ham didn't give up. They scored in the 72nd minute and it became a game again. But yeah, West Ham could not get another goal and Crystal Palace win the game. So that's two like really good games that happened this weekend. And another game that happened this weekend was Brighton Hove versus Wolves. Now Brighton, they just got knocked out of the FA Cup semifinal by Man United. So they're a little pissed. So somebody was going to pay for this. And Brighton's a really good team. And all the goals they didn't get to score against Man United during the FA Cup semifinal, they used them up against Wolves and pounded them 6-0. And I'm surprised because Wolves is coached by Lopetegui. And I'm like, what is going on over there, Lopetegui? Like, I always, and maybe mistakenly, hold Lopetegui in the same esteem that I hold Unai Emery. And they both came to the league this season around the same time. And I thought, since Unai Emery's team was going to take off, that Wolves was going to take off. But Wolves has had this stopping and starting thing going. He's got them out of the relegation zone, but he has not got them far up the table. So I thought Lopetegui would be having a better time in the Premier League. Maybe it takes a preseason and a full season after this to adjust. But they're 14th. They're not in the relegation zone anymore. They have 37 points. They're 3 points away from like the amount of points you really need to be safe. So they'll be fine. And maybe Lopetegui will become Unai Emery next season. But it's not looking like that for this one. Let's go to the other games. This morning, I woke up at 6 a.m. to watch Man United versus Aston Villa. And I knew this was going to be a tough game because Villa has been on a run. And they've also scored in every game that Emery has been their coach. So you can't keep a clean sheet against them. And they keep clean sheets against you. The only positive as a Man U fan that I felt from this game was that we're playing at home. And our fans give love and cheer the team on. And we've had a pretty good home record. So I was like, whew, we're at home. We really have a chance to win this, even though it's still going to be tough. And then the last game as an example, we were on the road against Spurs. We went up 2-0, but Spurs were at home. It's the second half. That's when they play, and they stole 2 of those points from us. So now we have to make that up. So now we're at home, and we've won some games recently where teams have not pressed us. And those teams that did press us, they made huge mistakes by not pressing us. And now we have a very aggressive Aston Villa coming to Old Trafford, and they're going to press us. Not only are they going to press us, we don't have our 2 best central defenders. So we play Shaw and we play, why am I forgetting? I'm terrible. This is terrible. I'm going to say his name wrong. I have to look it up. Man of the match, though, for sure. Lindelof. I don't know why I couldn't remember Lindelof's name. Lindelof was definitely the man of the match. So we play Shaw, left, center back, center half, and Lindelof, right center half. And this is what I wanted them to do, because I feel like Lindelof is better than Maguire, and Shaw is better than Maguire, even though he's a left back. And I don't know what injury Harry Maguire is recovering from that forced Ten Hag's hand to put him on the bench, but I want to buy that injury a drink, because the way Shaw and Lindelof played today, hopefully, they played so good that hopefully Ten Hag, no matter how healthy Harry Maguire is in the future, the way these 2 played today should let Ten Hag know that you just got to, as long as Martinez and Varane are injured, you just have to play Lindelof next to Shaw. No fucking around. We have to get top 4. We're already in the top 4. It'll hurt if we drop out of it. Arsenal, they were leading the league the entire season, and now they're not. I know that shit hurts. I want to be, even when it's mathematically impossible for us not to be in there, for us not to be in the top 4, we need to play Shaw and Lindelof. Lindelof was very Varane-esque today. His passing the ball out the back, his composure, him and Luke Shaw covering for each other was just poetry. And Lindelof just looked like a different dude next to anyone besides Maguire. I'm just glad, he scored the penalty, the winning penalty in the FA Cup finals, and the last few weeks he's been playing really well, and he was a Rolls Royce today out there, and I was like, damn, this guy is good. And Shaw, he did his thing. The whole defense did their thing. Malacia, the lot, the gear saved of something, a shot on the near post earlier in the game. Casemiro was coming back into the Casemiro that we liked. He's had some shaky games recently, and he started out a little bit shaky in this game, but he really turned it on, and covered the back 4 and did his thing, looked for passes, broke stuff up, and helped handle the press. And we really handled the press, and it's what I worry about. And it gives me confidence going into Brighton Hove on Thursday that, we can handle their press. We handled it at Wembley, which was a neutral field. It's handling it at somebody else's ground. We're not that great on the road. We're good, but we're not that great. We're decent. We're decent on the road. But against the top teams, we're not good on the road against the top teams. So to see, this was a great exercise to see how we're going to handle Brighton Hove. You could see that, getting out the back with the ball has been a problem. And we haven't figured it out. But today you could see that they've been some work to figure out a way how to handle being pressed. And you could go over the top and around and behind players like Rashford was offside a few times, but it was worth it. They was letting Villa's high line know that you press us, you're gonna pay. And eventually they did pay. And we pressed them. And they couldn't handle our press. There was so many times when Martinez was frustrated with his lack of options when he was like doing goal kicks, and then he just had to go long. And him going long was when Casemiro headed the ball back in his direction, and Rashford broke loose, got a shot off. Martinez saved it, but it's raining, couldn't hold on to it, and it ricocheted into Bruno Fernandez's path, and he put it in the net. And we went up 1-0. And, going up 1-0 is fine, but we blew a 2-goal lead against a worse team early in the week. So now I wanted to see if we could hold on to this. And I love how we held on to this. Like, I really think, especially in the second half, even though Villa had some chances, I just really like the way we continued to press, because midweek against Spurs, we lost the plot. We were up 2-0. They lulled us into a sense of false security. We didn't believe that he could ever come back against us. They rope-a-doped us, and they scored 2. But also, we lost our sense of purpose because we were up against a team that we beat the shit out of in the first half. So we're like, there's no way to come back. Villa, we know they're going to come back on us. So how are we going to handle this? And I love the way we defended by pressing and causing them trouble getting the ball out of their backfield. And then we prevented them from getting shots on us when they did get out of it. They only had 1 shot on goal the whole game. They had 7 shots. We had 14 shots, and we had 6 on goal. And we put 1 in. So we just really played good today in the second half, even though Villa were better in the second half. They did not dominate it. I say it was pretty even. And yeah, I'd like to give Sancho props. Sometimes Sancho gets the ball and you think, keep going forward, Sancho. Don't cut back. Let somebody foul you from behind. Try to get that shot off. But besides those moments, he held on to the ball for us. That's why I like when he's out there. He holds on to the ball for us. And we had a lot of ball holders on the field, like Sabitzer, Eriksen, Sancho, Fernandez, Casemiro, the type of people that can control the midfield, especially against a team like Villa who know how to attack, and they've scored in all their games since Emery got there. So kudos to us, man, handling their press, going over the top of them, doing timed runs, and then holding on to the lead, and also pressing them when we're up to maintain a second half philosophy that could help us hold on to that lead instead of being lost like we were against Spurs. So I give Man United props. And we get the 3 points, and now we're 4th. And then I talked about the other Liverpool, Tottenham 4-3 games. So Spurs drop points, so then they're even further behind us. Newcastle, they're ahead of us because they beat Southampton. And, I be teasing Lee sometimes, but I definitely had some form of optimism that they can pull this off. I no longer maintain that optimism. Southampton is going down. And I don't like to make definitive statements like that because football is funny. But they're going down. And if I'm wrong, then good. But they're going down. I don't see it. Here's what I would do if I was a coach in this position. I would tell the team, listen, there's 5 teams that could go down. So whoever has the strongest will stay up, right? So some of the teams are going to give up. You don't want to be the team that gives up. You want to be the team that believes they could stay up till the last minute, because that's a big part of how you're going to stay up. So believe that you could win every game or get some points that you're in. Southampton clearly does not believe that anymore. They are definitely going down. So you don't even have to ask who are the top 3 teams that are going down. Or you have to just ask who are the other 2 teams who are going down, because Southampton is definitely going down. There's no way they're staying up. Like, they don't got no ideas. Newcastle had 22 shots today. They had 4. At least 4 of their shots were on goal, but they only had 36% possession. They got no goals in them. They got one today from Armstrong, but it's like, you know, their players are like once in a while doing something. And that's not good enough. To be a good team or to stay in this league, you have to be consistent. And the only consistent that Southampton has been is the bad consistent. So we will definitely be plotting this funeral in the next few weeks coming up, once the mathematics tell us that Southampton is gone. This is just a matter of time. Southampton is in the hospital and it will not be returning. Go to its bedside if you're a Southampton fan and say your last rites and like let it have safe travel into the championship spirit world, because they ain't gonna stay up. Impossible. Impossibility. I can't say it in Spanish, forget it. Brentford beat Nottingham Forest. So Brentford doing, they beat teams they can beat. Nottingham Forest is a team they could beat, so they beat them. And they beat them 2-1. And like I said, Man City handled Fulham. Bournemouth, like, I think Bournemouth has 39 points now. And I couldn't be happier for a coach I don't give a fuck about in my life. I like this Bournemouth coach. He got the job at the Bournemouth, fired Scott Parker. He was interim in. He had some good results. They gave him the job, and then he started losing a little bit, but then lately he's been winning again and getting some points. And they beat Leeds 4-1. And it's like, you beat Leeds 4-1. Not that Leeds is great, but you're supposed to be a struggling team that just got promoted. You ain't going down. You're letting motherfuckers know you're staying up. And yeah, man, they got some wonder goals from Lerma. His right foot wand was active today. And Solanke has been balling the last few weeks. He's got a touch. Him and Billings are like 2 hidden gems. Like, somebody, if you're a top team and you need like some squad depth, like these 2 guys, Billings and Solanke, you should. They're already playing in the Premier League. You should go at them. You should try to get them. Everybody's looking at Brighton Hove players, but I see these 2 guys. There's so much quality that these guys have, and if they had like one of the best coaches to motivate them, not that I'm trying to get Bournemouth bought apart so that they could get relegated next year, but I got my eye on these 2, man, and they can ball. Sorry, Leeds. Sorry, McKennie. Sorry, Tyler Williamson. American players. I wish y'all could stay up. And you still might stay up, Leeds. Leeds might still stay up, like, because other teams are having terrible results below them. Like, look at it. Everton's below. Everton was kind of tricking us into thinking that they were doing well, but they haven't been. They haven't been. So let me just see something. about these scores. So we did the Brighton Wolves, Brentford, Nottingham Forest, Manchester United, Fulham, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Liverpool. Tomorrow, Leicester versus Everton. That is a battle of the two bottoms. Who's going to get on top out of these two bottoms? They both need these points. Let me see where this match is being played. It's being played at Leicester. So Everton's crowd usually gets them into it, but they won't be there. Both these teams is just like, at least Leicester's at home and they have more firepower. Like they can actually score sometimes. But if Calvin Lewis is healthy, maybe he could play tomorrow and save his team. We'll see. Like I said, Tuesday coming up, Arsenal versus Chelsea. And Chelsea is just in a poor vein of form. Frank Lampard has lost all 5 games that he's coached. His team has only managed to score 1 deflection and 1 own goal. So Arsenal, if you mess this up, plus you got it at home, you need to win. If you win, you actually kind of go back to the top of the table you've played 1 more game, 2 more games, and Man City style. So is Arsenal's, I'm not going to say bottling it, I'm not going to say choking streak, is Arsenal's like dip, rough patch over? Tuesday, can they end their rough patch? Can they go back ahead of Man City and force Man City to have to do it again? I want Arsenal to win the league. Now it's going to take a miracle. It was going to take a miracle before, but now it needs an extra miracle. Can I get extra miracle, please? I know every Arsenal fan must be in church praying all Sunday. All churches in England must have been people in red, filled with people in red all weekend. So we'll see. And then we have some games coming up midweek: Liverpool versus Fulham at Anfield, Man City versus West Ham, where Man City has a chance to go back ahead of Arsenal if Arsenal goes ahead of them on Tuesday. Man City versus West Ham, it's at City. The chances of West Ham beating them, you never know. This might be a slip-up game for Man City, to be honest. Something sneaky about West Ham sometimes, and this might be one of those games. And then on Thursday, Manchester United plays Brighton. Hopefully we'll pod on Thursday. I'll be in Austin. I'm going to be doing a mothership. Joe Rogan's new club there. But I'll get there Thursday morning, and I'll be able to pod. And we'll talk about the results of these games. So this is short. I'm on here by myself. Just did this thing solo, ran through the games. Pretty much. Let me see if I want to. So Man City's top of the table, 76 points. Arsenal is second, 75. Newcastle is third, 65 points. Man United is fourth with a game in hand on Newcastle. We got 63 points. Liverpool is fifth. All right, Liverpool, trying to sneak back up the table. They're in a Europa League spot. They got 56 points. Spurs is sixth. They got 54 points. Villa is seventh. They got 54 points. They got the same amount of points. They play the same amount of games as Spurs. So come on, Villa. Go back on another winning streak since you don't have to play us no more, and see if you could take that last Europa League spot from Tottenham. And if you don't do it, Villa, maybe Brighton will, because they have 3 games in hand on Tottenham, and they have 52 points. So they really have a chance to catch Tottenham. I just hope they don't do it against us this Thursday, and us meeting United. Brentford, They're ninth. They got 50 points. Fulham, and that's pretty good for Brentford. Second season in the league, 50 points. They're safe, no questions, a no-brainer, and they keep balling. They won this weekend. Fulham is 10th. Great for them. Promoted team. They got 45 points. No chance of being relegated. And they're the team. Fulham. When you ask people who are going to get relegated this season at the beginning, it's going to be Fulham. Now you're looking at a team. Fulham. They're 10th in the table, 2 places above Chelsea, and 6 points ahead of Chelsea. Crystal Palace is 11th, and they fired their coach. Well, and Chelsea is 12th, and they fired technically 3 coaches because Frank Lampard is definitely going at the end of the season. Chelsea has 39 points. I don't think some people are saying there's the joke going around England is that Chelsea can get relegated. I don't think so. They're safe, but it'll be fun to see them in danger of it happening. But they have a lot of work to do. It looks like they're going to get no European spots. So it's just be like EFL Cup, FA Cup, and the league for next season, which is good enough for them. Bournemouth, 13th, 39 points. I was giving them props earlier, still giving them props now. Wolves, 14th, 37 points. West Ham, 15th, 34 points. I feel like West Ham has lost more, and they're 15th somehow. But I thought they'd, be lower down on the table. Leeds is 16th with 30 points. Nottingham Forest, 17th with 34 points. And it's like 3 teams that have been regulars in the Premier League for a minute round out the bottom 3. Leicester, Everton, and Southampton. So, yeah, that's the soccer comic rant. Again, if you want to get tickets to LAFC's CONCACAF semifinal game this Tuesday, May 2nd, DM me on Instagram at Ian Edwards Comic, and I'll hook it up. All right? Free tickets. Podcast is giving away free tickets. My name is Ian Edwards. It's a soccer comic rant. Hope you enjoyed my quick rant and run through. Be good to each other. I love y'all. Thank you all for listening. And let's enjoy life and football. All right?